Salutations guys, Shadow Speakerman here. Today is a good, no, the best day to be a Speakerman in the entire 2 years of the series history. As you guys know, Skibidi Toilet episode 78 has released after a well worth it 3-month-long wait, and it showed us many amazing scenes that far exceeded our expectations. The animation level was the best it has ever been in the entire series, so pretty much turned up to an 11 in terms of quality. Several new character designs were revealed which were creative and full of aura, and of course, the most important detail objectively and personally, the freaking Speakerman Armada. The race so underrated, underappreciated, and quite frankly, underutilized. The race of which I chose 9 months ago as Shadow Speakerman, the race who had the quote-unquote weakest army in Titan, has now become the #1 strongest army we have seen so far and taken center stage as the Crimson Warriors of Sound, who are now undeniably the most awesome race of the entire series. There are also many other cool subjects that were introduced in this episode, such as the potential reveal of who was hiding in the energized TV Man's teleportation in episode 74, and the Astros now utilizing their mutants, who display incredible power and speed, along with a quite morbid feature of the Astros that definitely showcases their evilness. But enough of this intro. If you guys would be so kind as to leave a like and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it, as it would help my channel a ton and push my channel out as a growing Speakerman based channel. Thank you very much if you have subscribed now. So anyways, this episode is packed full of content, which in turn means this is going to be a long analysis video. So get your drink and snacks ready because the analysis starts now. The episode starts off in a makeshift cameraman laboratory where several Alliance members and Skibidi Toilet scientists are studying and testing astro technology, to which we actually get a reference/return of the camera toilet that first appeared all the way back in episode 16. However, unlike that absolutely powerful camera toilet, we can see here that the camera toilet is significantly larger and has a mixture of astro and camera technology as its weaponry. After observing the camera toilet, the POV cameraman walks to the main room of the settlement, where we can see that there are actually humans here who have taken refuge under the momentary safety of the Alliance. We even get a reference to Steak, who streamed for 9 hours straight to see this episode, and this piece of steak that the refugee is cooking, to which he says,
"Raw, needs more cooking."
Which that line leads to a morbidly funny scene in a moment. Everything seems to be peaceful in this little hideout the Alliance has formed. However, that is cut short when we see that the cameramen are getting a message that says that their location has been compromised and to retreat immediately. The cameramen, now shocked and on guard, prepare to shoot whatever is approaching their destination. This is where we see that the astro that breaks through the metal door is one we have never seen before. The astro then absorbs all of the cameraman's firing and discharges it, which blows up the entire building. The astro then fires at the cameramen, which causes the POV to momentarily cut off their view of the situation. When the camera turns back on, the surrounding area is now full of obliterators, troops, and other astros, as we get to see a full look of the new astro as he apparently eats the head off of one of the refugees as she begs.
Oh my goodness!
If you didn't think Skibidi Toilet wasn't for kids before, you definitely do now. But anyways, this astro resembles the Skibidi mutants we have seen throughout the series so far, and is likely that these astro mutants are what the chief scientist based most of the members of the G Squad off of. But for the actual Astro Mutant's appearance, we can see that he has a ton of armor, which includes a helmet with one stripe, a large metal gear on his back, which acts as his static warp levitator, and a jagged set of teeth, which looks like it's straight from the model of a Black Ops Zombies Nova Crawler, if I'm being honest. Another thing about this Astro is that we can see the same symbol that the Juggernaut has on his helmet is on the mutant's helmet as well, which potentially implies that they are in the same fleet or squadron. The name I have come up for this Astro is the Astro Hunter, as Hunter was the name for him in the leak we were given a couple weeks ago before this episode released. So now that we are done analyzing the Astro Hunter, the scene shifts to the Astro Duchess, who has apparently appeared on screen, where she kneels down and asks for a snack break? Oh no, don't tell me.
Oh my goodness!
There goes any chances of the Astro Duchess having redeeming qualities or becoming a sympathy villain. She's apparently a pure evil villain, and I think Uncle Iroh says it best.
No, she's crazy and she needs to go down.
Something funny about this scene is that when the Astro Hunter asks her how the human tastes, she says,
"Raw, needs more cooking."
Which is what the refugee said when he was cooking the steak. Now that's some dark humor right there. Anyways, after the Duchess flicks away the corpse of the human she just consumed and gives the rock eyebrow to the POV cameraman lunges towards the Astro firearm and quickly fires it at the Duchess's face, to which she effortlessly counters by just putting up a shield to block the firing. And to make it even worse, the Duchess looks almost shocked, like she couldn't believe the cameraman thought he had a chance of doing any damage to her. After which the Astro Hunter approaches the POV and kills him with his wrist blade as the POV flips him off, thus killing the POV who bravely opposed the Titan Duchess, despite his clearly guaranteed demise. Now, through the static of the now dead cameraman, we zoom out to see many screens of various POV cameramen dying by various Astros like the Duchess and the Hunter Astro. During this scene, a TV man, presumably the energized TV man or the scientist TV man, speaks of how ever since Titan TV Man got turned into the Watchman of Doom, every single POV that is transmitting their recording is being spied on by the Astro Force. Which, there is a big takeaway from this. If the Astros already have the means of spying on the Alliance's cameras via the Watchman of Doom, it is safe to assume that quite a large amount of time has passed and the Watchman of Doom has already been upgraded with Astro equipment, as they would need his screen to be repaired in order to spy on the Alliance. In the TV man's talking, we hear that many of the Alliance's secret locations have been compromised, which means the location we saw in the beginning of this episode was likely one of those secret locations, which was shown as an example of what was going on to every transmitted secret base in the Alliance, which is truthfully quite unfortunate. But after the TV man gets done talking, the intro of the episode comes to a close and we get to see the main plot start. Our view starts off in a way that is akin to episode 74, as a portable POV camera is turned on by a cameraman mechanic. We can see that our position is the cameraman laboratory, to which houses Skibidi toilets now, as we can see the Kleiner Skibidi scientist, this weird-looking Skibidi scientist woman, and the absolute Chad face that is the Buzzsaw mutant. Which, speaking of the Buzzsaw mutant, he has been significantly upgraded since we saw him last, as he now has shoulder lasers and dual pistols at his hips. Plus, the Buzzsaw mutant just has a sick new design overall, which I like a lot more than his previous appearance in episode 77. On to the current event. We can see that the Buzzsaw mutant is given the camera to record as the energized TV man states the order of rescuing an important research group of survivors in Eastern Europe. Something important to note is that we are seeing something for the first time here. That being that this is the first time we have had a Skibidi toilet as a POV for an episode, which is honestly really cool and just makes this episode even better. Once the energized TV man is done giving his orders, we can see that he is joining the battlefield along with a TV man with a scarf, and, presumably,
Larry.
But finally, after over 20 episodes, basic TV men are finally joining the fight for once. Those 3 TV men teleport away, and then the Buzzsaw mutant looks to his method of getting to the battlefield, which is none other than his semi-rival, the large TV man. The Buzzsaw mutant jokingly asks the large TV man for a hug, to which the large TV man expectantly declines. So the Buzzsaw mutant decides to get back at the large TV man after he told him to grab onto something else by grabbing his, well, let's just say I'm glad they are robots. The large TV man is extremely not amused and scolds the Buzzsaw for treating the situation like a joke and for thinking that they're buddies now due to the forced alliance between the Skibidis and the hardware heads. This scene really shows how much the TV man still really hate the Skibidi toilets and want nothing to do with them. After this is made clear to us, we actually get some surprising exposition on the TV man's teleportation, as the large TV man explains how little the TV men, let alone the Buzzsaw, knows about this timeless limbo that allows the TV men to speak in unreversed English and for them to teleport. This is extremely fascinating and mysterious, as it might allude to the fact that the TV man might use a completely other dimension or even plane of existence in order to teleport. There are 2 interesting things that get shown to us in this limbo. First, we get to see a scene of the past, where the Buzzsaw mutant is being created by the chief scientist. And secondly, we momentarily get introduced to a character known as Jeffrey, who has resided in this limbo for far too long, which I theorize that Jeffrey might be the TV man we saw in episode 74, as I'm pretty sure Boom said we would get some exposition on that TV man in the 78th episode, but that's just a theory. Again, the large TV man says that they are approaching the destination and that they are just in time. We then see a chaotic and action-packed site which looks just like a movie theater after the average chicken jockey reveal. We can see many Alliance members and Astro units are fighting in quote-unquote some random city. But what if I told you that this city was not just some random location Boom chose to be the battlefield? Because here's where analyzing can actually produce some cool and hidden conclusions. After thoroughly investigating the battlefield in those few seconds of content, I can confidently say that this location is actually the shattered remains of the settlement we saw in the beginning of the episode. You may ask, how do I know that? Well, one detail makes this evidently clear. Remember this weird, hairy Skibidi scientist we saw in the beginning of the episode? Well, we can actually see him fleeing towards the large TV man's containers in order to be rescued, therefore solidifying the fact that this location is the one we saw previously in the intro of this episode, and that the squad of researchers that are supposed to be rescued are the same Skibidi scientists and hardware heads we saw at the start of this episode. Yeah, hold your applause, I know I'm observant. I think. The Rizsaw mutant then pulls out his dual-wield Astro swords and asks for forgiveness because he is about to slaughter every Astro he sees. To which he absolutely does, and in an amazing fashion, as we get to see an amazing and well-animated action sequence that makes you feel like you're watching the average Ghost Runner gameplay. Not to mention how the cyberpunk synthwave sounding music feels like it's straight from Ghost Runner as well. This music spans for the entire rest of the episode from here, and is made by an artist named, I don't know if this is the correct pronunciation, but Perturbator or Perturbator. I'll make sure to link it. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel, as his excellent music heavily complements the entirety of this episode with its awesome soundtrack. But back to the Buzzsaw Mutants massacre. We can see that he is not taking prisoners, as this Astro Strider tries to beg for surrender before getting decapitated and trashed on by the Rizsaw. He then proceeds to fight even more Astros, as we see him flex every single asset in his deep weapon kit, such as his dual-wield shoulder lasers and pistols, which deal significant damage to Astros as he flexes his skill with them. After all of the Astros of this wave were taken down, we can see the Alliance members finishing off various Astros in many creative and, to be honest, extremely brutal ways, such as the large TV man who literally unscrews the Interceptor's head by twisting its head off. And everybody was saying Skibidi Toilet is for kids. A couple interesting details to point out is that when the Rizsaw mutant saws the Astro Troop's head into bloody bits, its scream is actually sourced from Steak's dad, who was promised by Boom to include his screams in the next episode for his birthday, or something along those lines by what I can remember. The other detail to point out is that the large TV man actually crashes into another YouTube headquarters, which is accurate in its metaphor, as this episode reached top on trending and is still number 4 on trending 2 days later. Oh, junk, I just noticed as of writing this script, this freaking Interceptor has the freaking cat paw symbol that the Astro Hunter and Juggernaut have, so that's something to point out as well. But anyways, as the Rizsaw mutant irritates the large TV man, the large TV man alerts him to watch his back, as we see another Astro Troop attempting to get the jump on the Chad Rizsaw. But of course, he quickly bodies that Astro Wingding. However, that distraction provided the perfect opportunity for another Strider to absolutely battle ram the crap out of the Rizsaw into the nearest building, which causes the Rizsaw to struggle a bit in recovering from this surprise attack. But don't worry, because before this Astro Strider can capitalize on this opportunity, none other than
Larry
shows up to kill this Astro Strider by forcing him to cut off his own head using a blue screen? Which is kind of odd that he didn't just use a red screen, unless the red screen is only able to be used by Titan TV Man. I wonder why that hasn't been a discussion in the community yet, of whether basic TV men can use red screens. But anyways, Larry then detaches his head and uses it to pilot the Astro Strider's body in a similar fashion that the TV woman does. But as he does that, the building almost collapses on his body. So the Rizsaw mutant picks him up and flies him to safety by setting him on the metal crate that now houses many survivors of the intro of this episode. The large TV man, now having all observable survivors in the area, begins teleporting away with everyone in the premises. However, the Rizsaw does a surprisingly sacrificial act when he sees that an Astro Strider is trying to sneak into the teleportation to spy on the Alliance. The Rizsaw leaves the teleportation cloud and takes out the Astro Spy quickly, thus securing the safety of the cameraman lab. But unfortunately, this in turn caused the Rizsaw mutant to get left behind by the teleportation, which is like, you couldn't have waited 10 more seconds for my boy? Really, large TV man? Like, bruh. But anyways, we see the Larry Strider Astro Toilet was also left behind by the teleportation and is hightailing out of the premises as we hear Astro Warping in the distance. The Astro Warping produces 2 obliterators who stand seemingly in wait. The Rizsaw mutant, upon seeing this, accepts his fate and starts walking towards the Astros in readiness of combat. But then someone else pulls up to the scene. and it's none other than the Astro Hunter who is aura farming as he walks towards the Rizsaw. The Rizsaw attempts firing at the Astro Hunter, but he freaking dodges every single shot by Astro Warping at least FTL plus speeds, which was honestly shocking to see that this one-striped Astro Hunter had Astro Warping in a way that is akin to something like Flash Step from Bleach. But anyways, the Astro Hunter then absorbs the lasers from the Rizzaw's shoulder cannons and releases the energy to cause a shockwave which interrupts the Rizzaw's cannon fire. The Astro Hunter then takes on the Rizsaw in close combat and easily overpowers him. We also get to see that the Rizsaw apparently has a hollow shield as well, although he kinda barely got the chance to use it. But then, their short fight reaches its climax as the Astro Hunter stabs the Rizsaw in his chest and tells him to say his last words, to which the Rizsaw responds like the bad butt he is by saying that he can't believe the last thing he will see is his hideous face. The Astro Hunter gets ready to kill the Rizsaw, but is interrupted by screaming and a red energy grenade which catches him off guard. All three of the Astros are shocked and confused as the POV looks to the right and we get to see a sight we have been waiting to see for over 6 months now, ever since the short of Titan TV Man's plan was posted. This amazing sight being the Speakerman Armada who have come to fight against the Astros. In this shot, we can see the reveal of the new Speakerman warriors who possess maces instead of swords and are a bit thicker in build, large Speakerman, Speaker Striders, and a new character we have never seen before who is a semi-titan called the Executor. And just, oh my goodness, they're finally here. My race is finally here. The Speakermen are here to help. Like, let's freaking go! The Speakermen immediately proceed to battle the Astros, to which we can see the Speakermen here, Naruto running, funnily enough. In response to this absolutely overpowering jumping by the new and auriful Speakermen, the Astro Hunter attacks the Executor by repeatedly Astro Warping into him, to which the Executor doesn't even flinch, and even catches the Astro Hunter mid-warp and begins crushing him in the palm of his hand. But as the Astro Hunter is being crushed, an Impactor Astro pulls up confidently like he is going to do damage to the Executor, but he couldn't be more wrong as the Executor absorbs the Impactor's cannon fire with his scythe, and then to top it off, throws the scythe, which ends up taking down 2 poor interceptors and then the Impactor as well, before boomeranging back into the grasp of the Executor. The Hunter Astro then manages to escape and promises to the Executor that this is but a mere setback to their imminent defeat, before then fleeing for his life, which was to be expected of him. The battle quickly resumes for the Executor as we see an entire squadron of Astros show up out of nowhere to absolutely spam the crap out of their firepower towards the Executor. But here is where we get to see the full power of what was teased to us by the DJ Twill in episode 77. As the Executor utilizes his shockwaves to stop the firepower as if he was Gojo with infinity, and then sends the firepower back to its senders, which immediately kills almost every Astro there. Something I wanted to point out is the insane durability of the Executor. He didn't immediately use infinite shockwaves, so we got to see him not even flinch to almost a full 2 seconds of full Astro firepower. That is absolutely crazy that he was undamaged by all of that firing. But anyways, any Astros that remained for the Executor's Uno reverse card attack shouted for retreat, but were cut short as a large Speakerman came from nowhere and killed one of the 2 Astro interceptors. Which a detail I really appreciate is that before the other large Speakerman bashed the second interceptor, we could see that the interceptor actually anticipated another to pull up because he looked to his left. But that Wingding looked in the wrong way and got bashed by another large Speakerman from his right, and then subsequently was crushed by the Executor. But that ends up leading to something insane. This shot right here. I absolutely love this shot as it is full of aura as we see the Executors outlined in the smoke before once again not flinching to any of the multiple lesser ranked Astros firepower. But this time, instead of using Speaker Wave of Infinity, we see that the Astros get mass decapitated by another Speakerman who showcases ridiculous levels of speed and precision. This Speakerman, of course, isn't even a Speakerman, but instead the Speaker Woman, who has now been dripped out in full commander gear and wields dual crucifix-styled swords that effortlessly chop through numerous Astro toilets' necks, which the crucifix design is a point I will go to in just a moment. So anyways, Speaker Woman sticks a sick landing after decapitating every single Astro as the fitting synthwave music increases, which heavily contributes to her aura. But we don't get a look at her amazing sight for too long because more Astro warping can be heard. The Astro which shows up is a Destructor that immediately begins firing towards the Executor at full capacity, to which the Executor further impresses us with his abilities by spinning his scythe in order to block the Destructor weaponry. However, it's not the Executor who retaliates to this attack. Rather, we get the chance to see a Speaker Strider display its capabilities in battle against the strongest medium Astro we have seen so far. Beside the laser cannons on each of its sides, the Speaker Strider has two incredibly unique and awesome attacks which utilize sound waves to both defend itself and attack this destructor with ease. The defensive one is a 6 sound wave discharge which blocks the destructor's lasers entirely. And for the offensive attack, we can see that 2 speakers on the Strider's sides are able to become mobile drones that release sound waves powerful enough to completely crush a destructor's head. The fact that the entire destructor was just low diffed by a Speaker Strider is just immensely hype. We then get another aura moment for the Executor where he states that there is no more hiding for the Speakerman and that all invaders will be executed, which he boldly states as he plants his scythe firmly in the ground. The scythe then transforms into a crucifix which shoots a bright red laser beam into the sky, declaring that the Speakerman are here and ready to fight any Astro threat that shows up to oppose them or the rest of the Alliance. Something interesting to go into is the multiple appearances of the crucifix design. In the past, Boom has made many references to the holidays in his episodes, such as an American flag on a Skibidi toilet in episode 76 part 1, because that episode came out around 4th of July. So it would be reasonable to assume that since episode 78 was released on Easter, the episode would include a reference to this holiday. But I was not expecting such a thorough and potentially permanent reference in the form of a crucifix being the main design symbol for the Speakermen. It is rather interesting that Boom would make the reference to Easter's biblical origin instead of Easter's more modern view of rabbits and Easter eggs. Definitely interesting and majorly respectful in my opinion. But anyways, after the laser shoots up into the sky, we then get to see the Speakerman Armada in its glorious crimson entirety on display and ready to face off against the next wave of Astros to oppose them. We can also see that there are plane-like speakers which we have yet to see on display yet, up towards the sky in this shot. Anyways, the upgraded Speaker Woman throws the Rizsaw Mutant his Astro Sword before we hear a very, very large amount of Astro warping in the distance, which large it is indeed, as a squadron of over a dozen Astros show up. This squadron consists of 9 Obliterators, 4 Destructors, and finally for the first time being shown as a direct opponent, 1 Carrier Astro. This extremely large carrier stares directly at the POV and smiles widely as it is surrounded by its comrades and prepares to fire. And that is where this exceptional episode and my video comes to an end. I hope you guys enjoyed this analysis type video. The ever-awaited Speakerman Armada was introduced in this episode, so I knew I needed to make a video going over the contents of this episode. So although this video came out quite a bit later than other analysis videos did, due to the sheer amount of content in it, along with a whopping 13-minute runtime which makes it the second longest Skibidi Toilet episode to ever come out, I do still hope that it was entertaining to watch and that you learned new things from what I analyzed regarding the episode. But anyways, I have also not forgotten that this video is coming out nearly a month after my last one. To be honest, I'm trying, but just as the Executor said in this episode, there will be no more hiding for the Speakermen anymore, so I will be actively trying to set my video schedule straight. So with that being said, please like and subscribe to help me and my channel, and also, please subscribe because, well, you know, celebration for the Speakermen, baby! I would greatly appreciate if you subscribed and told me how you felt about my video, episode 78, or both down in the comments section. So anyways, this has been Shadow Speakerman. Peace.